Hello, and welcome back to the Sidescape Gaming Podcast, episode 54. I'm your host, Jake Burke, and joined, as always, by James St. Charles, and no one else. We've reclaimed the show.
Yes.
We cut the dead weight. He's gone.
Trim the fat.
He'll never listen to this episode, so what's something you want to get off your chest about Ted?
You know, he did okay in Warzone, but we had to really dumb it down for him to get there.
Yep, exactly. I'm going to give Ted a compliment, but I don't want him to never know about this. Yeah. Since I've known him, he's only gotten better looking. He's only improved.
True.
So I gotta say, he's at the peak of his physical look performance. Mentally, no.
Yeah, he's probably gone back mentally. Yeah.
Exactly. But enough about Ted, because this is the Sidescape Gaming Podcast, episode 54. Where every Monday morning a new episode goes live on YouTube.com, SoundCloud, and Spotify, where once a week we sit down and Skype across 500 miles about a gaming-related topic and what games we are playing. This week we are talking about the PS5 exclusive Returnal, and I got a lot to say about it, James. I really haven't talked to you much about it, and I'm very excited. If you like the show, remember to like, subscribe, share, and please, for the love of God, James, what does everyone need to do?
They need to tell their mothers.
Tell your moms. James, I did it without even looking.
Wow.
I didn't look at my notes. Sorry, this is a big deal.
That's like first.
This a big deal. Didn't mess it up once without looking at the notes. So, James, I want to know first, before we talk about Returnal, let's just talk about what we've been playing. Let's get it all out there. You've been playing a lot of Resident Evil 8, but we're going to talk about that next week. Mm-hmm. So what else have you been playing?
So the first game that I was telling you about earlier this week that I got into was Apex. Because they had a big, I think it was called the Legends update.
Okay.
And so people were pretty excited because they added some new modes. They tweaked some characters. They added a new one. I think Phoenix is the one.
That's the flying one, right?
Yeah. Yep. And so, cool. People are hyped. They come back to it. So I haven't played in a while and came back to it. There's a new map and all that. I had no clue. So I was like, all right, I'm starting fresh. And I started with someone else who's also fresh. So we were in pretty fresh lobbies, which I think was okay. And then we started playing with a friend who had been playing for a while. And man, it was just night and day the difference.
You just got Shrek'd every round.
Yeah, and it made me think it's okay, we've been in some pretty hardcore Warzone lobbies where people are pretty kitted right away and then go at it. And even where we drop usually it's it's a pretty good fight. But with Apex, it's I can go in an area with completely no one, get all these attachments, the guns, the shields, there's just so much stuff you need, the whatever the little shield cells that you need and the health. There's just so much stuff you need in inventory wise that it's becomes to the point where if you don't have the best, the purples, the legendaries, you're just gonna lose a straight up fight to someone who may even be less skillful than you. Which to me is that's okay, you're trading luck versus skill, and that's something that I like Warzone because it's completely balanced for your shields and health. You are 1-to-1 with someone with full shields, full health. The difference is going to be in their guns or their gunplay. So that's why.
Sorry, with Apex, just for clarification, because I played only Apex when it first launched. Is it still just weapons and shields, or are you picking up other stuff? I
mean, there's grenades and stuff, but that was all. Yeah, basically everything that when we played, it's still there. And then the ults aren't too, controlling, except for that little ult I told you about that makes the game just way more streamlined. And then I just could not get into it because you get in these long fights and then everyone's just shielding up, or what happens is you stall long enough and then they just rush you and they don't get punished for it because they have these more shields than you, so they're gonna deal, they're gonna take more and then deal more.
Because, so is it something you're going back to at all, or are you kind of?
I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah.
It's just I've been too spoiled with Warzone, and no one wants to get into Warzone because of the downloads. The download's too big. And it's not that big when you compare it to games nowadays. Yeah. Sure, it's big compared to other BRs, but
I think Mass Effect collection's 60 gigs or something.
Mass Effect was 100 gigs for me.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Have you played any Mass Effect Legendary Edition yet?
No, I just finished downloading it last night and then didn't feel too well to play it, but I'm going to try and play it today.
Yeah, so I started... Mass Effect 2 is one of my favorite games ever. I've talked about it a few times on this podcast.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 3 was good. I've only beaten Mass Effect 1 once when it first came out. And going back to Mass Effect 1, especially after playing Returnal, which the controls it plays insane. Going to Mass Effect 1, it's like, whoa, this is a 2007 game. Like it feels,
oh really?
I mean, it looks, dude, Mass Effect Legendary Edition looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And like the UI has been fixed and a lot of stuff, but Mass Effect 1 itself is like such a different game than 2 and 3. I don't know how much of Mass Effect
it'd be like Witcher, like playing Witcher 1 versus 2 and 3.
Yeah, like it's like it's a slog, and it's just like the way that everything is set up is not, for me personally, like the systems aren't quite there. Like it's very RPG like, but it like lacks the, I don't know the right terminology, but like you don't get a lot of gear throughout the game. Like you're very rarely picking up gear, but you're like supposed to be finding new gear for your people. But like you don't really get that, and they took that all away in Mass Effect 2, where it's like, no, you can just kind of level up your people and they'll be fine. Like you're not going to find armor for them and all this stuff, but you really feel like, I should be getting armor in Mass Effect 1 and I have not. And I can't decrypt anything because I have no one with good decryption. And it's like that slog of like kind of the Mass Effect 1 pacing is just like, and dude, I forgot about the elevators in Mass Effect 1. Like, I know they're a meme, but there's a lot of elevators, and they've shortened the loading time in this game, and there's still a lot of elevators. So, but it looks beautiful. I can't wait to play 2. Like, yeah. That's the only reason I'm playing this, is just to have my Shepard carry over, and I'm just like, just streamline through Mass Effect 1 quick. I want to get to 2. So, it's so fun. Have you played all 3?
No.
Oh, have you played any? Wow. This is good. Okay. Yeah. Don't let 1 deter you from getting to 2. I beg of you.
Yeah.
It's definitely controls, it controls the weakest, and there's a tank section in 1. With, I don't know how much you know about the Mako tank. You like drop into planets and have to drive a tank around, and it frankly sucks ass. It's terrible. And there is no tank stuff in any of the other games. It's just in the first one. So that, don't worry about, like, if you hate the tank, so did the developers, and they took it out of both the other games. So, but it's really good. It looks great. The voice acting is still, I mean, just incredible. And the characters in Mass Effect are still some.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get into it. This has been hyped, and you're paying, I don't know, was yours $60 or was it? Okay, yeah, $60 for 3 games, 20. You know, that's completely remastered, and that's I'm excited for it.
Yeah, Mass Effect Legendary Edition is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to get to like 2 and 3, just because they just get so much better. Nice. So I'm very excited to hear what you think about that. We'll be talking about that in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So get some of that under your belt. Anything else that you've been playing?
I haven't really. It's been like the same games that I have been playing consistently. Like we always play Warzone. So Apex was just a new game. I always just want to talk about.
The only thing,
Village, of course, but I'm gonna save that for Wednesday.
Right. What do you thumbs up on Village? Thumbs down? Just brief preview.
I'm thumbsing up Village, but it's like the thumb's not all the way up.
That's what I've kind of heard about it. Yeah. It sounds like, from just hearing about Village, because I'm gonna play it when it's on sale later on.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's like good but not great, and there's like, it's pretty short but kind of too long in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it just, well, we'll talk about it, but it could have done things better, which is like, that's like what I've been hearing from other people. It's like, it could have done things better, but it's like a good start. Like, if they're gonna continue this sort of style, fine, but as long as they fine tune it. But it's like, I've been so spoiled by like the 2 remake that came out. That was just like out of all Resident Evil games, it's by far the best Resident Evil game I've ever played, and it's just incredible when I think about that game.
Dude, 2 is so good. I think about going and like replaying that every so often.
Yeah,
it's just so good.
I had a friend who replayed it recently, and I was just like watching it, and I was like, man, like just that part, like how they did that is so perfect, and everything lines up. It's just like, it's cinematic and it's intensive with the puzzle. Like,
yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna play Village once it's like $30 or whatever. Once it's on sale, and
I definitely like the price it's at. I don't know. It's one of those, like, just like 7 when 7 first came out. Like,
Did you play 7?
I went back and played it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely a different game.
Yeah.
Than this one.
Ted is playing it right now, and so he's gonna talk some about it next week. So I'm interested.
That's gonna be great. Yeah, because we're gonna connect on that, because there's like some things I forgot. It's been a while.
Yeah.
With this game, so I had to like refresh on some stuff, but
I'm excited to hear about it.
You can come to this game without playing 7. That's what I thought.
7 is supposed to be very scary.
Yeah, so 7 is more like a Outlast type game where it's jump scares and like creepy dark areas. And this game, I think maybe one point in this game it's scary, and that's it. Like for like a quick 10 seconds.
Yeah.
There's no jump scares. It's not too scary. It's pretty linear.
The vampire woman that's taken over the internet. Sorry, I have a few questions about. I know we're not reviewing it, but I'm just curious on it.
Yeah.
So, what lady something? I don't know her name.
Yeah, Miss Demeterisa. Yeah, like,
something like that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Is she like heavily involved? Like, does she chase you for a lot of the game, like Mr. X?
Her portion is like probably like 2 to 3 hours of the game, and I beat it in 9 hours. So like that's a pretty good chunk for her area, and it is Mr. X-esque, but Mr. X was just way more scary, and you got one hit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about the difficulty, what we like.
Cool.
Get into it, but it's just 2 was just way more difficult, and Mr. X had like a way more powerful thing, like presence. She is really easy to get around.
Oh, is she?
And
okay.
Also, you can like bait her, and then just
gotcha.
You could take a lot of hits from her, and I didn't like that.
That's weird.
I thought she should have one shot, but she doesn't. I don't even think in the hardest difficulty. I haven't played the hardest. Like there's one that you unlock after you beat the game. But
okay.
Definitely too easy for normal.
That's like crazy because Mr. X, like that was what made that game so fun. Is like, okay, Mr. X is like utterly terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like, and then but her part like of the game, really well done. Like in terms of like where you're like at her part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it.
I think that's gonna be good.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, that's for next week. Shelve that. I want to talk now about Returnal, James. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's take a breath. Returnal.
Wait, can we talk before you get into the game?
Yeah.
PS5 exclusive.
Yeah. So Returnal is a PS5 exclusive, made by Housemarque, who they're not a first-party studio, but they've worked really closely with Sony for many years. But Housemarque made like arcade shooters. So Super Stardust Ultra, Nex Machina, Alien Nation, Dead Nation, like those kind of twin stick shooters. They were really known for PS4 when there was like no games when it first launched. There was a small game called Resogun. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Really fun arcade shooter where you fly in like a cylindrical pattern with a ship and you're basically defending this like pattern. Really cool. They always have great like gunplay and like maneuverability in their games, but everything's been like top-down twin stick. Returnal is Housemarque was famous for saying arcade is dead. They made all these arcade games and they made a game called Nex Machina 5 years ago, something like that, and it didn't sell very well at all. Like really hurt the company. And so they basically did this blog post of like, arcade is dead. We've canceled our 3 arcade projects that we were going to work on, and we're transitioning to like a more modern style of game. Like arcade games just don't sell. And so then they built Returnal. And I've actually been reading a lot about Returnal because it's kind of fascinating that Sony's now built this as like a big tentpole first party game, which it is exclusive, but Returnal wasn't supposed to be as big as it is. And it's every time that Sony execs would come and see the game, they gave Housemarque more money because they were like, oh, this is way better than we expected. Build like another level, expand it more. And in the game, and I'll talk about length and everything, you can kind of feel that expansion a little bit, but it doesn't take away from the game. It's not like, oof, this game is too long. Though some people will feel that about Returnal, and I'll talk more about that later. But the game is $70, and I think this year we're probably going to talk a lot about price point because
So from here on out, are they $70 games for PS5? Is that how that's working? Unless for at least exclusives, like unless the company sets it at 60, like Mass Effect Collection.
Yeah, so that's the weird part. So I think Resident Evil 8 Village is 60 on the PS5 store, and it's a PS5 game.
But it's not like Sony. It's Capcom. Yeah. So
and like 2K Sports, like they're already at $70. MLB The Show is at $70, but I think MLB The Show is 60 on Xbox. So I think there's like a weird. Pricing is gonna be something that we're gonna talk about a lot this year because, in my opinion, we pay for our own games. We're not games journalists that kind of get them for free. So there is like a value. I think there's always that kind of that disconnect between.
That you're right. That is like one thing you gotta take. That is not like on a like anyone's scale. Like it's like they never really weigh the price of the game. Some do, like some understand, but when you're a game journalist, you're always getting free copies or like all that. You just think about the game itself. Yeah,
I think that's good in a lot of regards. Like I hate the mentality of like, if
is this worth $60?
Yeah, like if a game's not 80 hours, it's not worth $60, dude. A movie's $20 and it's 2 hours. So like measure your time that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, if I'm getting 8 hours out of a game, like it's probably worth 60 if it's a good game, in my opinion. So Returnal is a rogue light, right? Rogue light or light?
Yes, light is where you keep progressing, like you keep dying to like unlock stuff and progress. Rogue like is like it's the same balance every single time.
So it is a rogue like. No.
Light.
I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this by the end of the podcast. I promise. So
the games they're all roguelites nowadays. There's no roguelikes anymore.
So it's a roguelite. Which I think is very interesting because Sony didn't really talk about how this was a roguelite until like 2 months ago.
I didn't know anything about this game until you kept saying Returnal. Hey, Returnal's coming out. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So it's a roguelite. It is a third-person shooter AAA roguelite. Roguelite. Yeah. Jesus Christ. And it feels so AAA and like so great to play. You are like an astronaut space pilot named Celine, and you crash land on a planet. I'm gonna spoil minor like beginning of the story details. You land on this planet. You go through to try to figure out what's happening, and when you die, you wake up in the same spot where you crash landed, and you relive the crash. This game uses the SSD drive so well on the PS5 that not only when you died, you just basically come back through the sequence. Every time you boot up the game, there's no menu, there's no start menu. It just plays the Sony logo, Housemark, then the crash, and you're in the game. And it's like 15 seconds and you're already playing Returnal, which I think is so smart, especially for a roguelite game. We're like, yeah, let's get these plays through quick. Then you go through your loop, and you are clearing out rooms, getting equipment, finding new weapons. You always start with the same pistol, and you're finding new weapons throughout the area. You start with 3 weapons, and as you progress, you start to like unlock more.
Nice.
Yeah. There are, I think there's like 8 or 9 weapons where I've beaten the main story, which is the first 2 acts, and then the third act is like the replayability act. So I've rolled credits on Returnal. Nice. I think it took me like 27 hours, something like that, which I did play a lot of this game. But you go through the loop, you're clearing out enemies, and you're slowly progressing through like the first area, then you face the boss. Then if you beat the boss, you're given like a key that you can then quickly access the second area after clearing out a few rooms of the first area. That makes some sense. And then as you do, you're slowly upgrading your character. You're either upgrading stuff for just the run, where you're getting artifacts, which give you certain just like positive abilities. Like if you get hit, you hit an explosion, you emanate an explosion, or per 200 coins that you have, you deal 5 times more damage, or like whatever that, like 5% more boost. So it's all like just for that run. Or there are like augments, and those are permanently like for your suit. So my only big complaint about Returnal's like user friendliness is that I haven't personally found a place to view my augments after I've gotten them. So you'll basically like find a terminal in the world that you can either pay money for, or sometimes you get it for free after like completing a challenge, which will be like 5% more weapon damage, just permanent, or 20% more max health, and you upgrade it. But then like you don't see like, okay, I want to know if I'm 35% over the initial value of my weapon damage, but I don't know that. I just kind of have accumulated more and more of these, and I don't see like the overarching.
Overall.
Yeah. So that's my one complaint is I wish I could see like, oh, I've gotten, my repair, which is for my suit, like I've upgraded it to 45% more than base. So I wish I could see that. But you go through these worlds and you're collecting, and if you die, you start right back at the beginning. The only thing you take with you are your stat augments, which you can't see, or your ether, E-T-H-E-R. I think it's ether.
Ether, yeah.
And that is like what you can permanently unlock stuff with. You're not unlocking suit stuff though. It's just you're unlocking new items that will then be used in the world when you run through it, which is really, I think, a really cool way to do it. So it's a lot less like Hades, where like you're unlocking new weapons and like, new stuff to run through. I think this game's gonna be compared a lot to Hades, by the way, because it's just right after the biggest probably roguelite in a long time. So like you're not taking in new weapons, or you're not taking in something just from the beginning, but you're unlocking new things as you go, which I think is a really cool way to spin it. But then the root of it is you are in combat, like majority of the time, and it's insanely fun combat. The Housemarque has incorporated their like almost bullet hell twin stick shooter into a third person shooter in an insane way. What's really cool about the DualSense are the haptic feedback triggers and how they're used in this game. Your right trigger fires normally. Your left trigger has 2 different zoom options. So it has like a first zoom where you go like halfway and it stops you. And that's just your normal aim down sight zoom. But every weapon has like an alt fire. And if you push down the trigger like its second push, you unlock the alt fire like section, and then that's what you're firing. Excuse me. So I think that just how they use the haptic feedback triggers is really cool to like implement. It's actually, I think we were talking about it while playing Warzone though.
Yeah.
It did screw me up a little bit jumping into like a normal game that doesn't have the trigger, like half trigger, because I was so used to like lightly pushing the trigger. So like that does like mentally kind of throw you off a little bit.
That's a thing like that when you were explaining it to me, like how it works, that I think more games should try and like go back and retroactively like implement. And I'm surprised Warzone doesn't have like a mode or setting where you could do that with the controls, because that doesn't seem too hard to implement. Right. Like if you wanted to like change your sensitivity on like when you actually like trigger a zoom or how that feels, that would be, because then what's happening is going to happen is eventually people are going to get used to the new setup, and they're going to go back to it's going to happen what happened with you, where you're going to feel like, okay, wait a second, it's not doing what I want it to do because I'm so used to this.
Yeah, like I was so used to like just lightly touching it, and then nothing was happening in Warzone. I was like, oh god, I'm getting like murdered because I can't zoom. Like, So yeah, no, that is something that's gonna be an interesting kind of hurdle over the next X games. I do think, and also how this game utilizes the new vibration, the like DualSense vibration. I was telling you a little bit offline, but like you feel every raindrop, every footstep, all of like anytime you boost or dash, like the way that the vibration works nowadays is just, it's so incredible. Cool. I really hope games like latch onto this, and this isn't just like a gimmick that started with PS5. Like,
so how do you feel about like Ratchet & Clank that's coming out? Do you think they're going to fully utilize and optimize just like this? Okay.
I think that all PS5 exclusives for a while will utilize this technology.
Good.
The big hurdle, I think, is that Xbox is just a normal controller. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, no, it's like the same as the one.
Yeah, it is the same controller. Yeah. I think there's one different button that does the same thing. It's like the select button now is some new button that, you know. And I think that's going to be the disconnect where third parties not going to utilize like the DualSense vibration a lot. And that kind of bums me out. Like I want to see what it would be like. Mass Effect's not a good example, but like in the next Assassin's Creed or Grand Theft Auto 6 or whatever, like what could they do with this technology? Because every time it's used, it just impresses me more and more. So you have like these combat sections, and the combat is just on point. It's so bullet helly, and you have a dash mechanic and a melee, and you're moving around, and you really start to learn enemies. I think what is really cool, like in roguelikes, but I didn't feel this way about Hades, so maybe you can kind of back me up or talk about it a little bit. But like, there was such a learning curve to every enemy in Returnal, where like I meet an enemy for the first time, and I'm like, what does this guy do? How am I going to get through this? And I get my ass whooped, and then like the next 3 times I come in, I'm like, oh, I get how this enemy works. Where I didn't feel like Hades had like insane variety of like how an enemy worked, except for bosses maybe.
I think some of the bosses, but most of the time you knew like what was happening, or you would like see, you would learn probably in like the first like 10-20 seconds that you're
you just watch them move around a little bit and you're like, I got this. So I think like every new enemy that's introduced is like terrifying in my opinion, like almost everyone. There are these robots that will fly around and like launch like a barrage of missiles at you, and I would get my ass handed, and then I was like, I get when to dodge now, like I know how to take these guys out. And you're trying to like stagger your opponents and everything. And then there are also another thing you can get in the world are parasites, and they latch onto your suit, and you can have up to 5 of them, and they have positive and negative effects. So an effect will be like, extra stagger damage, but you will take fall damage.
You'll take,
or every time you pick up an item, you will get hurt. And it's like, well, fuck that. So you're balancing kind of what parasites you're picking up, and you can't just remove a parasite whenever. You have to find a way to remove it. So there are some that will just kind of like, oh, this sounds kind of good. And then it ends up like it's just terrible and you're like really screwed. And then you can also level up your weapon proficiency, which will get you better leveled weapons. And the higher level a weapon is, the more like augments the weapon has. So you're like using the carbine, the machine gun, and you're getting like different augments for it that'll be like it fires 2 projectiles instead of 1. It does X, Y, and Z. So you're unlocking like things for your weapons as you progress too, which I think like it really adds that kind of roguelite effect to it of like, oh cool, now I've got this rocket launcher that's fully automatic, and it's like, this is sweet. So you're unlocking that and then really progressing all these different systems while just building up your character for a single run, which is like the best feeling once you have this run where you're like firing on all cylinders. What I think is one of the best, I wouldn't call it quality of life, but like best like new ideas that I've seen in this game, which is simple, is every time there are little like health packs all around, these like resins that give you health. But if you're at full health, they add a slot into like your max resin or max integrity, which is like your health. So if you get 3 of these extra health things while you're fully healed, you will then build up your max integrity and it'll expand your health bar.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like it really like promotes like not getting hit, which is like some games do, but like this game, like really like there's a benefit to finding health when you're at full health. Which I feel like
that's like a problem with a lot of games. Like you have health, like, and it's like, okay, I can't. That's a waste. Like I can't pick that up or can't use that.
Yeah, so
nice. I like how they do that.
I really like that part. It's like feels like a really good benefit to like really clearing out a room without getting hit. So that's kind of everything that Returnal does while incorporating this interesting story. The base of the story is you land and you're stuck in a time loop, but you are finding recordings of yourself that has already died. And it's their recordings on their dead bodies of previous yous in the time loop that have gone further than you before. And sometimes you're hearing from this one Celine that is like really crazy and like obsessed with like the species on this planet and like this hive mind property that she keeps talking about. Others are like terrified or like filled with regret. So it's really interesting. Like you're hearing yourself talk and tell you the story, but you haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah.
And then the last kind of section of the game is that you will find your house in a certain room. And you will enter the house and go into like first person, and it's almost like PT.
Ooh.
They're not pop out scary, but I'm a really big wimp when it comes to scary, and I always figured they were gonna pop out and stuff. And so I was always just like super tense in these house sections, or like on a run, I'd be like, I'm not gonna fuck with the house right now. Like I can't handle it right now. So it's the world is really cool while building into like this great loop of a roguelite. And I think like that's where Returnal like is really going to excel if people give it the chance. But I believe the marketing was really botched for this game and like didn't tell anyone what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear too much about it. And even though I heard like good things, I still feel like it's going to fall off pretty hard because not saying that PS5 exclusive like hurt it. I think that probably helped it a lot. Yeah. But it's just, only people who can play it or who have PS5s, and nowadays it's like so hard to get one, and bringing up that point I think is kind of interesting because I think this game really would have excelled if everybody could play it. Like I think it would have probably like
it would have broken
really blowed up. Yeah,
just like Hades did because once Hades got on Switch, everybody was like, holy shit, Hades is great.
Yeah, and Hades is coming to PlayStation now. Yeah,
so I think like that really is unfortunate that it isn't on PC because I would love, like, I want you and Ted to play this game so bad because it's so great and like unique. But I also think it maybe wouldn't have been made to the scale it was if it wasn't a PS5 exclusive.
That's like, you gotta weigh those things. It's like it being a Sony exclusive, like having that support and money, like it's understandable. Yeah. But I feel like it still did well. Maybe we'll see the Sony partnerships that I keep hearing about with Epic, that they may release Sony games. Maybe in a year from now it'll come out. It'll still do well, I think.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think the more people that play Returnal, the better. And I can see a world where this style of game is Housemarque's specialty. Like
that'd be nice.
Like how Dark Souls is like From Software. They're making Dark Souls games but different titles. That would be so cool if Housemarque could do something similar.
Take a hold of this style of roguelite. Yeah.
Because it is a AAA roguelite. Like it
which we haven't seen.
No, it feels so AAA.
Although you would say Hades is a AAA roguelite because it's just so well made and so well done.
Hades is basically AAA at this point. But I think like it's hard to compare Hades in it because it's so different. Like Hades has the fantastic of when you die and you talk to this cast of characters that you like. It's so cool. This is like, this mystery is weird and what is happening, and it goes way deeper than I expected. I told you one of the spoilers of the story that I thought was just like so cool. Like just so smartly written. I was like, damn, whoever thought of this, like Well done. But dude, the loop of it is so fun. Like I'm thinking about, like I want to play more of it, even though I beat it. Like I'm like I would love to go back and just try it.
That's the best thing about the roguelites. So going back to like I think about going back to Hades every now and then, and just like let me just get a quick run in and see what I can do here. What about the issues that you had? Like I remember you texted me one day.
Yeah, so
very frustrating.
I'll talk about the issues really quick because most of them have been fixed. Or they've told, or Housemarque has said, don't do this, and then this won't happen. So I had an instance where I texted James really mad because I was on like the run of my life, as I'll call it. I think I even texted you. I was like, I was on the run of my life. Like, I had like over 100% more health. I had like a really good gun, and I was in the third biome, which is like the end of Act 1. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I don't think it is. And I was like right there, and I went into an alternate room, went over to a chest, and I got stuck in the floor between the chest and the floor, and I couldn't open the chest because I didn't have a key. So my person was just running in place. I sent you the video, and I was like really upset. So I read into the issue. I was using an alternate skin, like a pre-order bonus skin. And the alternate skins, I don't know if this has been fixed. So here's my piece of advice. Don't change your costume. For some reason, if you have a different costume on, sometimes the game doesn't register you.
Wow.
And you will get stuck in rooms where doors won't open. You will get stuck in the floor. All of this kind of stuff. Only if you're in the alternate skin. If you're in the normal like white astronaut costume, nothing happens. You're fine. But sometimes the game will just not recognize you, which is really infuriating. But once I learned that, I was like, okay, this game, just don't switch your costume. And if you didn't pre-order it, I don't think you'll have that problem. You did mention something, though, about what you loved about Hades was these quick runs that you can hop in. I'm going to get a 30-minute run in.
Yeah.
This is Returnal's big hurdle. I don't think it's a bad thing, but a lot of people do. So Returnal is long. All of the runs are over an hour. Hour and 30, 2 hours. They are long. And if you die, does it suck to die because you got to do another hour and a half. This is, I think, very on purpose by the developer. Of course, people are freaking out, and they're going to have to change it because there's no save feature. You can't save mid-run.
You told me about that, and I was like reading up people who put their PlayStations on like rest mode or something.
Yeah, so there is a solution. You just don't turn off your console, and it pauses. Yeah. You just put it on rest mode, and it's fine. And still everybody's freaking out. I mean, if this game had a rest mode, it would really deteriorate or if this game had a save state mode. Yeah, save state mode. It would defeat the purpose because you would die and then just reload your save.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't want. Like Hades doesn't have a save mode. It just
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it just has like an overworld.
Right. But the world the runs are a lot shorter than Returnal. So that is a hurdle that the game has where if that doesn't sound to your liking where these are long runs, you're not going to enjoy every run because they are all pretty long. I think that adds a unique pace to the game in my opinion. Like it changes the roguelike pace and makes it feel a little more some parts a little more dangerous. There are like boss rooms which like when you get into an alternate boss room and you're like not kitted out and you're like, oh, I did not expect this to be the room. Like this is gonna suck.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Same thing with like Hades. Who's like, do I go into this boss room? Like, I'm fine. You go in it. It's like, oh my god, I just lost everything.
It's that damn Minotaur that you have to face the first time in the third world. You know what I'm talking about?
That's the worst. That is right there. The slog of Hades is once you get past the Minotaur twice, and it's like, oh, geez.
But I really want more people to play Returnal. It's so good. The combat's awesome. Most of the guns are really good. There's always some dud guns in every game, but like they've just found different ways to do different things with guns. Like there's one gun, James, that I think you'll think is pretty cool, where it shoots these pylons and you connect them and they make like a wire, like laser grid, these pylons. Ooh. And so like all these guys that run into this like grid get really like damaged over time. Nice. That's a really unique idea. Like that's just kind of an interesting gun. I don't like the gun, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, like I'm not going to use it. I'll use a gun that has bullets, but you know. Any questions? I want to kind of field some questions.
Yeah, I had a couple, which was once you beat the final boss, right? What was your feeling after like getting through all those runs and then finally getting to a point where you can have, I guess, the items available in the world to get to that run? Was it a lot harder? Was it like a big stretch, or did it feel like easier to get to that point?
The game, I think over time it begins to get easier to get to certain points.
So similar to Hades.
Yes.
Like, it's just really easy to get through.
Yeah, but it does it in a different way than Hades. There's a easy way to get to like the last biome of each act. It's like you can find a room that has a door that teleports you to the next room, that then you hop down and you go into like the third biome. If that makes sense. Yeah. Like there's just like a quick shortcut to get there. But the risk of doing that is then you're not kitted out.
Yeah, exactly. That's a thing in like Binding of Isaac,
yeah,
where you can like jump to the next floor and not get like sacrifice an item or two from the level just to get further down.
Yeah. So like
it's a good trade-off though. Like
yeah,
I'm glad they have that.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. So like I could at any point go to like that third biome if I'm like pissed off and I'm just like I got to get to that third biome. But like me as like a player that like really wanted to beat the game, I was like I'm going to hit every room in the first world and just get my health to as high as I can go, and then I'll go and take that on. It's like I'm expanding these runs, but it's like, but once beating, I was actually underwhelmed by the final boss. I thought the final boss was pretty easy comparatively to like
what you had faced.
Yeah, there's 5 bosses. The first 3 were really like hard and pretty good. I thought the last like 2 were okay. Like I didn't really feel, and you don't have to face the bosses more than once. Once you beat a boss, you never have to face it again, which I think is really cool.
That is interesting.
Yeah, you can still face it if you want and unlock stuff, but like you'll get like a bonus room that gives you like an item or so. But once beating the game, it felt very satisfying because I got in that last biome to the boss room, and then I saw an extra door, and I was like, "No, I'll go in there," and I got destroyed by like a mini boss. And I never went back into that mini boss room. I was just like, that guy can handle himself over there. Like, I'll mainline it. But it felt really cool to beat the game. And it adds a lot to the story once you start to like unravel what is happening.
Nice.
Yeah. So I felt like it was a satisfying ending once you got to it.
Great.
Yeah. So.
And then I guess last question would be, we talked about in the very beginning, $70 game. Mm-hmm. Do you feel you got your $70 out of it? Which we talk about in the sense that like $70 for me and you, it'd probably be like you can have like an 8-hour experience and have it be amazing, and that's worth. Mm-hmm. This you said you poured in, I don't know how many hours.
Like
you
I'm at
said
like
27 hours.
I think I beat it in 27. I think I'm at 30.
30 hours. Yeah. That to me, just like Hades is very cheap. It was like
$20.
20 bucks. Yeah. And I easily have like that many hours probably.
I have so many hours in Hades.
Yeah, but to me, it's like they're two different games. Like not to say like.
No, you're
one
right.
is like less than the other. Like looking at Returnal 2 it's AAA style. It's visually like amazing. It's I think people will like. You're gonna be at this new price point, $70, but you're paying $10 more than the original $60 like set in stone thing. But I don't feel like it's gonna hurt too much.
I don't think it will. I think. That's the hard part with like, is it worth $70? $70 means so many. Like you and I are in fortunate positions where like we can spend $70 and
we could say
hurt us like a lot.
But for let's say a kid, like let's say like you're
that's $70 is a lot, and it's a lot for a roguelite. Like that's a lot to ask for a roguelite, in my opinion. I think it's worth it because I think it's a very smartly designed roguelite that feels AAA. Like it feels like a Sony first party
something
game.
that you can invest your time into.
Yeah, but I think that's a big hurdle to like, hey, this is a game that's hard and you're gonna die a lot and restart. Like there's you don't save in this game. Like that's a lot to ask. But I think that if you play it without thinking about the $70 price point, it's fantastic. If you don't have a lot of money and you think about $70, it is a lot to ask. But I think it's totally worth it in my opinion. Okay. Yeah, and I like that question because I think that's going to be something we'll talk a lot about this year is like...
Well, yeah. You know, but that's going to come up, like, I think, for every single PS5 game, and then there's going to be new EA games that I think are going 70.
I think so, yeah.
From what I've heard, so...
Yeah. Mass Effect Legendary on PS5 is still 60.
60.
Yeah. But it's not a PS5 game. It's a PS4 game. There's no PS5 version.
Huh.
So, like, you're up-res to the PS4 version.
Yeah. You're just running it really nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. They've probably been working on it for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. They basically rebuilt a lot of Mass Effect 1, which is nice. Nice. I recommend the hell out of Returnal. I think it's fantastic.
Thumbs up.
2.
Yeah.
Two thumbs up. And they are way up, not like the Resident Evil kind of up.
Not like my thumb's kind of up. Like.
Yeah, so I really recommend it. I think it's just awesome. I can't wait to see how, like, if this game has legs. Like, I'm excited to hear...
Well, that's what I'm curious. Are they going to have like DLC, some balance changes, which you've already said, like they've already like looked into bugs and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
they've done a lot of patchwork and bug work on this game.
Seems like they may like do some more stuff, which would be nice.
Yeah, I would love that if they added like another biome or like some story. I don't know. I think they could do some cool stuff or another Returnal like re-Returnal or whatever it's called, you know?
Well, if they were working on arcade games for like, you know, like 2 or 3 titles at a time, like, and then they hit the nail on the head with this one and got so much support, you may see like this company like really like, okay, this is what you're gonna make from now on.
Oh yeah, if I was Sony, I would buy this company right now.
Oh,
I would buy Housemarque. I think like they can only go up. They're only improving. They're only getting bigger and better. So yeah, if you have a chance to play Returnal, if you have a PS5, man, this is, I think, in my opinion, a must-buy PS5 game. I think it's fantastic. Oh, yeah. So, but next week, I'm excited to hear about Resident Evil 8 next week. Village. Yeah. The systems up. Yeah.
It's definitely going to be interesting talk. So that's what I like.
Good. Yeah, and I'll play it later on.
We'll have a lot of insight.
I'm a big scaredy cat, so I like to have someone else play the game before I jump into it. You said it wasn't scary.
2 is way scarier.
Okay, perfect. Then I can handle it. I can handle it. Well, any final questions about Returnal, or you think you hit it all on the head?
Trying to think if there's anything that came up. Not really. I guess do you have a favorite enemy? I guess.
There's a few enemies that I think are really fun to fight. There's one that just bugs the hell out of me too. There's an enemy that, like I said, that has like the rockets. I really like fighting these robots. But there is a big like plant monster that you fight a lot that I found to be like the hardest enemy in the game, and it would whoop me every time. And then I've like learned how to take it down. Like I stagger it and then melee it. And I was like, oh, there's like a strategy to this guy alone. And like once you learn the strategy, you feel so smart, man. Like you're like, okay, I know how to take out this guy, take out this guy. Like I come into the room, like I've been in this room. I'll take you guys all down. Like it's a great feeling. Yeah. So
nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go buy Returnal if you can. It's fantastic. I'm very excited to talk more about it this year. I'm sure I will. When we talk about Game of the Year stuff, I'm sure it'll be on that list.
Good.
It's a fantastic video game. Nice. Thank you so much for watching the Sidescape Gaming Podcast, episode 54. If you like our show, please like, subscribe, share. We just had an episode of our Star Wars podcast, The Dago Boys, go up with me and my good friend Hunter. And we will also be doing another episode this coming week and talking about the 3rd episode of The Bad Batch and something else. And I think James and I are going to do a Returnal playthrough kind of thing of just one run because sometime I would love to show you what Returnal is. So. Nice. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.